My name is Jennifer Amick, and today I'm going to be speaking on why we should stop animal testing. When you think of the face of animal testing, do you think of a sweet domesticated beagle curling up beside you on the couch? Well, according to the Beagle Freedom Project, beagles account for 96% of dogs utilized in animal testing in the United States alone. We make a conscious decision every day to utilize various products, such as cosmetics, household items, pharmaceuticals. Animals are subjected to cruel and unnecessary suffering for the testing of these products. Aisha Abkar states that the data showing the unreliability of animal experimentation and the resultant harms to humans and non-humans undermine long-standing claims that animal experimentation is necessary to enhance human health and therefore is ethically justified. So, through necessary research and personal experience of caring for an ex-laboratory beagle, I've learned how important it is to put an end to animal testing. So, of course, I'll explain the needs to end animal testing, the flaws, human harms of animal experimentation, while also explaining the benefits of legislative change here. And I hope you will also decide to advocate for the end to animal testing. Abkar tells us that 115 million animals or more are used worldwide in experimentation to supply the biomedical industry. And these animals are subjected to really painful experiments up to and including death. Now, laboratory procedures and conditions exert really impactful influences on animals according to Abkar, but these can really impact the research outcomes. So, use of artificial environments, captivity, laboratory conditions, lighting, noises, restricted housing, these all can have an impact. Many animals will develop physical and medical conditions because of these varying environments, including stress changes, physiological parameters, and other things that can have a really significant impact on test results. For example, if monkeys are strained in blood collection, other monkeys observing that could then have a rise in cortisol level. Elevation in stress markers can also happen because an animal is removed from a cage or brought back into a cage. Blood pressure levels can change. There's also changes in neurochemistry, nerve regeneration, and also genetic expression. Noise levels can even have an impact on blood vessels. Now, Abkar claims that the lack of sufficient congruence between animal models and human diseases is another really significant obstacle in translational reliability within these experiments. Human diseases are complex, and often these diseases are introduced artificially to animals in experimentation. There's disparities between human and non-human species, and a lot of the potential therapies that have been introduced have failed in human trials. So, for example, inflammatory conditions or ALS, TBI, AD, there were repeated failures in animal models, and there were significant limitations on the reactions of non-human species because they couldn't mirror carcinogenesis, among other things. The FDA also estimated that 96% of drugs which have passed a preclinical test mark within animal experimentation could fail to be introduced to the market, with effectiveness, safety issues, among other things that couldn't be predicted through animal testing. There's also the risk of significant harm for human clinical trial participants. So, for example, there was a clinical trial that took place with HIV infections. There was a testing of chimpanzees with certain data that led to a clinical trial, and volunteers were subjected to really intense human suffering because of the introduction of GP120. Now, HRT treatment was also terminated, and this was due to the increased risk of stroke and breast cancer. But HRT was proven to be effective in non-human trials. Now, TG1412, that caused a life-threatening systematic organ failure because a compound caused an opposite effect in humans as it did in animals during experimentation. So we really understand the problems behind animal testing, so we want to now move on to the solution. The National Library of Medicine is going to continue to claim also that enormous benefits for humans and animals is due to animal research, but I want you to understand the negative effects of animal testing on human and non-human species. Also, many animals are intentionally bred for the use of animal testing. Now, according to the World Animal Foundation, there are many steps we can take to end animal testing. One is donating and supporting organizations who advocate for the end to animal testing, also utilizing cruelty-free products. Now, the Leaping Bunny program began its operations on cosmetics in the United States and Canada, ensuring no animals were used to contribute to their product development, according to the World Animal Foundation. So simply looking for the Leaping Bunny logo will indicate that products are free of animal testing. The PETA list will also provide a lot of information about normal household products. And then also creating products, especially household products from more natural ingredients, will not only benefit the animal testing industry, but also support sustainability. Boycotting companies that utilize animal research is also important to create necessary change. And then we also must consider this. The U.S. federal government invests about $15 billion into the animal testing industry. So boycotting these companies and organizations who utilize animal testing is going to make a very big impact. It's also important to educate yourself and others because we want to invest the time and research into organizations such as the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, or say the Humane Society International. And the information that you're going to be able to get is going to be able to influence others to spread the word. Now, there's also alternatives to end unnecessary animal testing. So, according to the World Animal Foundation, experimentation using advanced algorithms and even experimental medicines using skin cells from those suffering from certain diseases, such as heart disease or diabetes, that's another option instead of animal testing. Now, of course, legislative change is very necessary here to end testing and also to care for animals following testing. So the Beagle Freedom Bill helps rescue dogs and cats, and that's from laboratories that have been funded by taxpayer research. So according to the Beagle Freedom Foundation, this legislation provides a relationship between laboratories that use dogs and cats for research purposes. And then they help register with nonprofit and animal rescue organizations, and they can facilitate public adoption for these animals once they're no longer needed. Now, states have adopted this legislation throughout the United States, and those include California, Delaware, Nevada, New York, Washington, among many others. So now that you've heard the problem here and the solution to animal testing, I want you to visualize this. All citizens should advocate for the cruel and unnecessary use of animal testing. You know, we all hope advancements in pharmaceuticals are going to combat disease and illness, right? And we definitely support the development of those products to make our lives better. But we can do this without the unnecessary testing of animals. Now, imagine having a life-threatening illness. Say you have late-stage cancer and you've been selected to participate in a clinical trial that's of a new drug, and this could really impact your life, right? This has undergone animal testing stages, but you and the other testing participants receive a life-threatening reaction to the drug. Or imagine being locked in a cold cage with so many disrupting various stimuli subjected to cruel and unusual torture at the hands of experimenters. Or imagine taking HRT back a decade ago and because you were subject to different things having to do with the menopausal stages of life, and as a result, resulted in the development of breast cancer, like my aunt did. Now imagine a world where we participate in other alternative research, where drugs are developed with more effectiveness to the human species and no animals suffer at the hands of research. So I've explained to you that animal testing is cruel and unnecessary in a modern world. The use of animals does not reflect the biodiversity of humans and it isn't as effective as it could be. There are many flaws to human harms of animal experimentation. 115 million animals are used worldwide in experimentation to supply the biomedical industry. We know alternatives can put an end to the suffering, and legislative efforts are really making the world a better place by putting an end to animal testing and providing research for retired research animals. Now, as a pet parent of a retired research beagle, I see the physical and psychological effects that animal testing can have on research animals. I intend to continue to advocate for the end of animal testing as well as purchase cruelty-free products. Now, I urge you to do the same. Big changes really smart with small changes, don't they? Such as verifying your most purchased products. Are they cruelty-free? Can you check that with a Leaping Bunny status? Well, of course. And even small steps toward change will contribute to the ending of suffering of millions of animals every year in the name of beauty and science. Thank you.